Welcome back to Rated Radio with your very unprepared hosts, Lexi Ray and S Dub. If you're here, we're about to rate something the kids are listening to these days. Shane, what Billboard hit were we dumb enough to listen to this month?
You picked Please, Please, Please by Sabrina Carpenter.
I did. I've been having a very brat summer, so this is coming out later, but I had a brat summer.
You're so cooked, bruh.
I know. It's hard. It's hard being this charred.
Skibbity toilet.
I'm so skinny. And Shane, I'm going to need you to calm down with that Riz over there.
I am your cousin.
I know, which is why I'm like, this is not appropriate.
Oh, God.
Anyway, Please, Please, Please by Sabrina Carpenter. What did you think of it?
This shit sounds like if Cyndi Lauper did a song for the Barbie movie soundtrack. Love it or hate it, I think that description succinctly sums up how you're apt to feel about said song. TikTok scrollers will undoubtedly recognize a portion of the chorus. The instrumental is a maddening blend of cheese and pleasant melody work. The lyrics do a great job of standing out as unique, even if they're 100% pop. There's a refrain, a standout hook, and even some evolution within the instrumental on occasion. It's not something I'm going to turn to for listening pleasure, but it's completely solid for what it is. 5 stars.
Whoa, I didn't know where that was going to go.
And you?
That was a ride. This girly bubblegum...
Yeah.
God. You're going to leave this in, aren't you?
Nope, I'm just going to write it down.
No!
Girly bubblegum.
I did that. Okay.
That's too much Riz on my part. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
Rizzed up my own cousin. She talking about girly bubblegum.
Are you posting it?
No, I'm just writing it. I'm making a note.
Am I going to get a shirt at Christmas that says girly bubblegum? And it's pink? Shane, please, no.
I'm not doing Christmas presents this year.
Okay.
I hate to break anybody's heart. But...
Good. You know what? That's okay. That's okay with me. Anyway, back to what I thought about Sabrina Carpenter's Please, Please, Please. This girly bubblegum pop with 80s inspiration and a subtle acoustic guitar is a track that is light and summery and got that perfect boppy effect for warmer weather. Carpenter's voice is soft but able to reach those lower notes unexpectedly and possibly even cringy, but I say to be cringe is to be free, motherfucker. You know what? This episode's already off the rails. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck.
So what you want to do?
I want to roll that intro, baby. The first album that we're covering by Powerman 5000 is Tonight the Stars Revolt from 1999. This was my top album.
Agreed.
I gave it 5 5s out of 14 tracks.
10.
My top track was Watch the Sky for Me.
Operate Annihilate.
And my bottom track was An Eye is Upon You.
See, I actually like that one. I'm torn between System 1111 and The World of the Dead.
Well, I had a runner-up for my top, which is Worlds Collide, obviously. Anyway, what'd you think about the album, Shane?
If the Presidents, that's the music group, the Presidents of the United States of America, decided to make a sci-fi album with Dope and Bobby Mars from the Lung Fu Mo Shi era, that's what this space-themed industrial rock album is like. It still kicks just as much ass as it did 25 years ago, too. People expecting a low-rent Rob Zombie from his younger brother's outfit are in for a nice surprise.
The family psycho stick does not fall far from the family tree.
You said psycho stick.
I'm so
Girl directions.
I love that you find that amusing.
I can only count to 4. I can only count to 4.
While not their debut album, on his brother Rob Zombie's label, Powerman takes a more futuristic and cosmic approach to their fast-paced power metal. Vocally, very reminiscent of Manson, but more rock than sex.
Yeah.
The next album that we covered was Anyone for Doomsday from 2001. This was my middle album.
This was my bottom album. And I would mention before we move further that this album wasn't actually released for a long time. Not in an official capacity.
So it was written way earlier?
It was recorded to be released in 2001, but the label kind of shit the bed when the single didn't go to number 1. I think it only went to number 7 or something along those lines. So
they just held off on releasing the album?
Yeah, but it was available online, etc. So
Okay. I gave it 4 5s out of 14 tracks.
5.
My top track was Bombshell.
See, I was torn between Bombshell and Wake Up.
Okay. And my bottom track was Disease of Machinery, the intro.
Yeah, for me, it was either the intro or 177 TR? Question mark?
I'm pretty sure that one got a 2 from me. This surprisingly electronic contribution from Powerman offers a view into the 2000s trend of vampire goth, while keeping it psychedelic and space age. As for the music, it holds some serious contenders. The vocals are more gruff and sexy like Manson's, but the zombie blood cannot lie. You can see the similarities in the siblings' inspirations.
This disc is a real head-scratcher, a mixture of half-baked ideas which just never marry. The talented bass band is still here, but they occasionally venture into techno-pop, punk, and even downbeat territory. Many choruses fall flat, and the lyrics tend toward meaningless noise. Though there are some highlights, Doomsday feels like a mess of confused identity at its core.
Maybe in his brother's shadow? Who knows?
Maybe.
The next album that we covered was Transform from 2003. This was my bottom album.
This was my middle album.
I gave it 3 5s out of 13 tracks.
11.
My top track was That's Entertainment.
I was torn between Top of the World and The Shape of Things to Come.
And my bottom track was Song About Nothing.
Assess the mess, but Song About Nothing was the one actual song which didn't get a 5 from me on this disc.
Because it literally was a song about nothing.
It reminded me of, different stylistically, but Korn's Y'all Want a Single?
Yes.
Same sort of idea.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's clever. Yeah. I know a lot of people do. They're like, yeah, that's awesome. You're putting it to the wheels of the machine, the music machine, man. You're doing it. And I'm like, yeah.
The only people that you're hurting are the people that are buying your albums.
Yeah.
Not the people that are making money off of it, because now they're getting paid.
Right.
So
Korn did it better. I will say that. And it wasn't the worst song I've ever heard. I actually wanted to really like that song. It's just you get to the chorus and I was like, fuck.
Yeah. This direction is way less spooky and way more Spencer's Gifts. This direction sounds on par with Foo Fighters or Taking Back Sunday. This swaying from the path is definitely an interesting one. Sometimes they even throw in beats that remind me of Good Charlotte or even Smash Mouth. Very different from Tonight the Stars Revolt. While definitely more mainstream and polished, who am I to say that this is a good or bad way to go?
I think we're in some similar territory here. I wrote, be prepared for some shock if you came to this disc expecting the Powerman of the Revolt era. This is a pop rock alternative disc that blends the more energetic elements of Nickelback, Marilyn Manson, Volbeat, 3 Days Grace, Fuel, and even Stroke 9. It's clearly a mainstream effort with much more accessible lyrics and power chord crunchiness, an unexpected style but also surprisingly well done for what it is. Is it life-altering art? Not at all. Honestly, I suspect the group is trolling people like me who enjoy this or find it agreeable, but it is a good time and not nearly as cringe as you'd think.
A couple of things that I want to say about them before we moved on. They were formed in 1991. The lead singer is Spider-One, which if you haven't caught on, that is Rob Zombie's younger brother. Spider-One actually won a readers poll in Boston for Best New Rap Act, believe it or not.
I could believe that. You can tell in some of the little skit things throughout the albums that he wants to rap somewhere.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if this group released a rap album. You know what I mean?
They even opened up for Manson and, of course, Rob Zombie. I've had the pleasure of seeing them live, and they put on a good show.
Their music makes me feel like we're in a musical war against extraterrestrial invaders.
I was going to say robots, but
yeah,
very much like kind of a Mars Attacks situation.
Okay.
Like that weird, goofy, space age, techie, but still comedic aspect of it. Yeah, that's like John Waters-esque. That reminds me a lot of Zombie and Spider-One.
Almost comedic sci-fi. There's a reason that I started out talking about this group alongside the presidents of the United States of America who did Peaches, Lump.
Very
Kitty.
B-movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but in a way that works a lot of the time. My time with this group has led me to expect a musical chameleon from disc to disc, a group driven by their agreed-upon theme for a given outing, and I respect that dedication. I also think the band at large is a powerhouse, that their production is A-tier, and that the vocalist has something both unique and enjoyable in terms of delivery. Far from perfect in the deep dive, but much more solid than I would have suspected.
All right. Well, with that being said, why don't we take a break and then we will jump into talking about Rob Zombie.
Sounds good to me. What you got for us this time?
So, with it being the month of October, of course we gotta talk about more spooky shit. This time coming in the form of top songs in horror movies is what we covered. Which, Shane, I thought you'd have an easier time with this list as you are an aficionado of horror. What was your song choice?
I did not have an easy time with this.
Really?
Really.
Wow. You still surprise me even after all this time.
So it led me down kind of a different path.
Okay.
I couldn't choose one song, but shout out to Cash Star's I Won't Leave You at the Dance for being one of those genre benders I think most of you will love and not yet know about. Congrats on being here for a departure from the norm. This time around, my story is going to be the outline of the 3 horror movie plots I wrote around this playlist prompt. 10 songs each, and I picked songs I wanted to hear in horror movies instead of songs I already had heard. First story tells of a nuclear apocalypse that leaves a dude thinking he's the last person on Earth. In his wandering, he stumbles on his dream house only to discover there's a teenage girl there who's also survived. What follows are his attempts at winning her affections before becoming so forceful that he ends up killing her. The movie would end with him, as well as the rest of humanity, eventually succumbing to the fallout of the nuclear apocalypse.
So, Goldilocks meets Frankenstein meets Warm Bodies.
Yes.
In a post-apocalyptic setting.
And you got to keep in mind, this is all designed around the music. Okay? It's not like I had this idea and then I put the music there to fit. No, it's the exact opposite.
Okay.
Like, you ever seen a coming-of-age film where you felt like they just wanted to put these songs on a soundtrack and there's the story? That's where we are. The second story focuses on a lady who's caught between an abusive relationship, but also has a best friend who obsesses over her. When she eventually enlists the help of her friend to off her abuser, only to quickly ditch the friend once the deed is done, his fantasist ass kills her too. We then go on a ride with homie's denial as he slowly realizes he actually killed the girl of his dreams, taking her dead ass to a dance bar and everything. When he finally discards her body, the movie ends with his lonely self stumbling back upon the guy he killed early on in the flick, eventually getting caught because he keeps treating the dead body like it's alive.
Holy shit. Okay. So,
Did that make
Last
some
Dance
sense?
from Mary Jane meets Vanilla Sky meets... I had another one at the beginning.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
Meets Chloe, because that is kind of the premises in Chloe.
I don't know if I've seen Chloe, so maybe that's why.
You may not want to see it because you may like it too much.
It's naked ladies in there?
It's Amanda Seyfried on full nudie display. Fucking Liam Neeson, Julianne Moore, and their son. She makes her way around the whole family, and it's a thriller. So, yep.
Who
Anyway.
even cares if it's good?
Yeah.
You want story 3?
Yes, I do.
Give it to you.
Yes.
It involves a guy having a bad trip on drugs, feeling like his existence has been a dream, then falling into a nightmare about everyone he loves trying to kill him. When he wakes up, everything seems normal, until monstrous creatures start bursting out of the skin of those around him. Convinced it's still a dream, he carelessly goes from one gore fest to the next, killing aimlessly. He eventually gets hit in the head, and everything seems to go back to normal. He ends up falling for a fellow survivor he finds along the way, but she ends up being a monster as well, and he decides to just let her kill him instead of continuing life in this state of mass confusion. Immediately after dying, however, he comes to right back at the moment where his friend initially talked him into swallowing the acid he'd taken in the very beginning of the story, begging the question of whether or not this nightmarish existence would simply continue happening in perpetuity, like Groundhog's Day.
Fear and Loathing, what's that one with Arnold Schwarzenegger where his wife isn't really his wife and it's all innocent?
Oh, True Lies?
No, not that one. No. And out of True Lies, you really think I'm going to talk about Schwarzenegger?
You said
Did you see Curtis in that movie?
You said Schwarzenegger and wife, and my brain immediately jumped to that dance scene.
The one in the future where he doesn't know what's real. Or
Total Recall?
Yes. Anyway, there's a lot going on there. I'm curious to see what those lists look like. So, sounds interesting.
Worth a listen? I suppose. Yeah. So, you?
So I picked Red Right Hand by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Recently, I had the pleasure of linking up with an old college buddy for a couple days, and when deciding how to prioritize a very short time together, I decided to surprise him with seeing a movie that he has never actually seen before in a place that he's never been. For those of you that may have already figured it out, it was Scream, one of my personal favorites, and since he doesn't normally do the spooky stuff, why not on top of a building in Fort Worth? Check out the Rooftop Cinema Club. We had a blast, and the cocktails and headsets were a nice cherry atop our 12-year friendship.
Linking up, huh?
Linking up. We're linking up. It's not that doesn't always have to be a sexual thing, Shane.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. We linking up.
We'll call it a Freudian slip.
Very much not a sexual thing. Anyway.
She was up there Can you turn off the Riz, please? Oh my God.
Shut up.
Where are my panties?
Oh, stop. Please stop. You know what? Get your ass dressed and get out of the cold. Either get your ass dressed or get out of the cold. Either way, I don't care. I'm tired of hearing shit.
I need a beer, but let's go
talk about Rob Zombie. Yeah, okay, let's go do that.
Shit's got to get weird in this episode, right?
I know. Anyway, okay, so the first album that we covered by Rob Zombie was Hellbilly Deluxe from 1998. This was my top album.
And I will correct you here.
You will?
Much like Dracula and Dragula, you should probably have a closer look at that album title. It's Hellbilly Deluxe.
But it's Hillbilly.
It's not Hillbilly. It's Hellbilly. Hellbilly Deluxe.
This is where I announce my retirement from entertainment. Thank you. Hellbilly Deluxe from 1998. I wouldn't know. I didn't meet him.
It's okay.
But you did.
Yeah.
You did meet him. Yep. Anyway, this is my top album.
Middle.
I gave it 6 5s out of 13 tracks.
Same.
My top track was Demonoid Phenomenon.
I actually went with Super Beast.
Interesting.
Wow. I didn't see that coming, but
me neither. And my bottom track was Perversion 99.
I actually think How to Make a Monster.
Okay.
I just hate when artists do that. Here's part of a song and we sound really far away.
It makes the song sound like it's recorded live.
Kinda.
Yeah. What did you think of the album?
This heavy metal horror album feels like a continuation of White Zombie's work. It sounds like Godsmack trying to make a 9 Inch Nails LP, but with lyrical elements reminiscent of Typo Negative or Misfits. While most of it is almost pop-like in its accessibility, it also wastes nearly a quarter of its runtime on skit-like tracks, and songs feel underbaked near the end of the disc. Definitely a standout for its winners, but off-puttingly quirky in its lesser moments. And I never thought I was going to be so critical of that disc, but looking at
Here we are.
With a critical eye there, yeah. You?
This fast-paced Southern psychedelic horror metal comes out of the Hell's Gate, sorry about that, swinging. Shane's not entertained. White Zombie's former frontman lets his inner camp and freak flag fly. A dark sexual homage to the 60s B horror movies. This album features some serious sounds and inspirations from the past, but it never ceases to remind us about its relevant club techno inspirations made popular at the time.
And if anyone's confused why this, if you look at the rest of this, why this is my middle album, those 5s are amazing 5s.
Mm-hmm. Very strong 5s. The next album that we covered was The Sinister Urge from 2001. This was my middle album.
Bottom.
I gave it 6 5s out of 12 tracks.
8.
My top track was I Feel So Numb.
House of 1,000 Corpses.
Wow.
I love that song.
Yeah, that one was your favorite though?
Mm-hmm.
Even with the intro?
Yep.
Okay.
I like the intro.
I like the song. I wish the intro was... I don't want to hear the mom screaming. I can deal with the news.
It's always something random.
Yeah.
Some random little thing puts
I'm weird. Anyway, I'm very specific. I'm picky. I don't know. My bottom track was Sinners Incorporated.
Transylvania Transmissions.
What did you think about it?
A clear attempt at replication of what made Hellbilly so successful. This works better in the totality of its listenability, but also feels like an unnecessary rehash of the familiar. The shtick of horror schlock just doesn't hold one's attention for very long without a lot of lyrical superiority or melodic complexity, and there's not much of those things here. An inoffensive listen, but not one worth committing to memory. It's like if Powerman and Dope tried making an Ozzy album.
Okay. Well, I think I'm right there with you. I said, while not as strong of an effort for me, Zombie still brings a lot of what was great on the first album here. The only catch was that I felt as if he ran certain songs far too long with no rise and fall and was just creating sounds for the sake of filling up space. So,
yeah,
middle of the road.
We're not too much in disagreement.
Mm-hmm. Like this, the fives were strong, but it was not consistent.
Yeah, he got 8 fives out of me from 12 tracks. That's 2/3 of the album.
No, that's not bad. The next album that we covered was Educated Horses from 2006. This was my bottom album.
Top.
I gave it 3 5s out of 11 tracks.
9.
My top track was American Witch.
Foxy.
Yeah, I do love that song too. And my bottom track was Ride.
100 Ways.
What'd you think?
Insofar as zombie albums go, in my experience, this is something special. Not only is it an almost complete stylistic shift, it also offers melodic memorability, more mature vocals, and a moodiness which doesn't feel contrived. It's not perfect or without weak moments, but if you told me Charles Manson wrote this and that Ozzy Osbourne and Trent Reznor produced it, I'd have believed you. Mm-hmm. It's never going to appeal to the masses, but totally proves that Rob's more than imitation butter.
This is a much more experimental direction here and quite repetitive, if I'm being honest. He also adds more of a Spanish medieval folk inspiration in addition to his metal roots. Zombie has more freedom to play here, and after the success of his past works, and in my opinion, it's the wrong direction. But then again, who the fuck am I to judge?
His music makes me feel like I'm having a lot of sex on Halloween.
Hey.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good time.
It's awesome.
Some other things I want to note is that Rob Zombie actually worked as a production assistant on Pee-wee's Playhouse, and he actually founded White Zombie at this time. From a young age, he was fascinated with horror. He took a lot of inspiration from his parents, that they were actually carnival workers. His real name is Robert Cummings, and he's from Massachusetts. He actually did the animation for the hallucination scenes in Beavis and Butthead's Do America, for those of you that don't know. I'm sure Shane already did. And he owns his own recording label, which is called Zombie A Go-Go Records.
Wasn't there a film he did? I wanted to say, is it The Haunted World of El Superbeasto?
El Superbeasto, yeah. El Superbeasto.
By the end of this listen, it was clear to me that Rob didn't need White Zombie, clearly being the creative force behind it, and that he has deeper musical talents than I'd come to expect. Much as with his filmmaking, people may clown on him for certain predictable choices, but the overall output ends up being more enjoyable than most would anticipate. He may still only be an artist I turn to every October, but my faith in his capabilities is stronger than it was before this listen.
So, I think it's safe to say that Zombie took it for you this month?
No, it was actually Powerman 5000.
What?
By 3 5s.
Wow. Okay.
Now, given.
What are their averages looking like, though?
Zombie got 4.38 from me. Powerman got 4.18. But they also had a lot more skits. Powerman did. Mm-hmm. Powerman had 41 tracks. Zombie had 36 tracks. It's not too far off, but Powerman, I think, deservingly took it, even though I loved Educated Horses, and I'll always go back to Hellbilly Deluxe for its strong points.
I think it's safe to say that the third album that we covered by both artists, they were taking it in an interesting direction. I can't say if Zombie has released another album since Educated Horses. I don't think he's been making new music because he's been focusing on his directing.
I think he also does the soundtracks to those films, though. I think there's something out there. I just don't know if it's a remix or, dance collections or something.
There is. There is a remix album and there's like a greatest hits collection or whatever.
I think the way you feel about your dad and Sling Blade is probably how I'm going to feel about your dad with regard to Hellbilly Deluxe. So
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that album's always going to be classic in my head, even if I didn't, it's not the most amazing thing I've ever heard.
That album to me, even though it is too dark for some people, that album to me is fun.
Yeah.
Some of my fondest memories with my dad, that album was playing in the background. I mean, going fucking storm chasing, listening to that shit, Dragula blaring and this fucking beat down truck with a badass system. Like a lot of good moments were spent where this was played. So.
I seem to recall y'all had just moved out to the middle of nowhere, like right about the time that this came out.
Mm-hmm.
And so he knew eyes were still on in this small town, and you just imagine the guy like, look all you fucking want to. I'm going to turn on my devil music and roll my windows down.
Yep. And it was two very, very different people were rolling through that town, and they both lived under the same fucking roof.
Yes.
So it was a very interesting household for me. Anyway, Rob Zombie took it for me. It wasn't even close as far as like fives. Zombies fives were stronger, but that's not to say that Powerman wasn't a contender.
Yeah.
I like what stuff that they have to offer, and I'm curious to see what other stuff they have.
You're a Halloween fanatic, so I always knew where this was going to go.
Yes.
I was surprised by Powerman pulling out the win. I'd only ever heard Tonight the Stars Revolt.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that was a great album, but...
Well, before we move on...
What's next?
Oh, shit. Next is our Battle of the Bands. And I had the pleasure of picking 5 albums from 5 different artists, a list and a Billboard top track. The artists and albums that we're going to be listening to next episode is AJR's The Maybe Man from 2023, Fleetwood Mac's Say You Will from 2003, The Weeknd's Dawn FM from 2022, Chris Stapleton's Higher from 2023, and then Prince's Musicology from 2004. If you would like to hear what sort of list we're going to be covering and Billboard hit we're going to be covering, tune in next episode.
Yeah, and if you want to know what got albums 2 through 5 for us, definitely tune in. I think number 1 is obvious from the jump.
For you? Oh, for both of us.
Come on.
We'll talk about it.
We
will have plenty to talk about.
Maybe I fucking hate it. How about that?
Okay. All right. Since Shane's going to start lying, that's going to do it for now. Hit up our playlists, visit our shop, come find us online to get your voice on the show. And until next time, fill your world with music.
Hopefully the kind you can fuck to on Halloween.
Trick or treat, everybody.